and I'd like to thank the Minister for Families, Communities and Disability Services for bringing this motion to the House, which will acknowledge the efforts of businesses, the community and social services sectors and their staff to remain COVID safe. And I think the social services sector is certainly one that we really need to think about and focus on, particularly given the vulnerable nature that many people might find themselves in when interacting with those service providers. We've got that stress, that feeling of helplessness, that often occurs anyway, and it's certainly heightened during times like now when we're dealing with a pandemic. But I guess the one point that I do want to make is that there are also some really, really good positives to come out of this. Lots of support that is being provided in different ways, and some real shining lights that we need to highlight at this time as well. Now, one of the providers I want to mention today is Arana Support Services. Tina Reynolds and her staff do an outstanding job under very difficult circumstances. Now, this is an organisation that provides a broad range of support for adults and families who are homeless or at risk of being homeless, including those experiencing domestic violence. And given, as mentioned by the Minister, that it is National Homelessness Week, it's a pretty good time to do, as I say, and shine that light on an organisation that's doing things a little differently and achieving some outstanding results. So one of the exciting innovations that Tina launched when she took over the organisation was the Meals on the Main initiative. Fairly simple, but essentially it's a free weekly community barbecue aimed at providing a meal every Wednesday night to those who might otherwise struggle to find affordable and reasonably nutritious food as well. It started in October of last year and in fact grew so much that it was forced to move from its original location, which was on the main street, i.e. Meals on the main street being Macquarie Street, to a nearby park due to the popularity that it had. It also received plenty of support and food from local businesses, which was really important, and it helped really make it feel like a community effort. Now, sadly, things have had to change a bit in that space. It was basically a buffet where you turn up, you line up, you get a feed, you grab a bit of whatever you want, and on you move. But in times like this, that isn't really possible. But where there's a will, there is a way, and individual food packages are now being prepared every day to make sure that no one is going hungry. People also have the ability to pop in during the day and grab a pie or a sausage roll and drink and sit in a COVID-safe environment and have it. So that's happening, and that's a way that organisation has adapted very quickly to what they were used to dealing with, which was people en masse doing a buffet-style service. And I was lucky enough to serve a couple of times, including at Christmas, and a great experience to interact with people that you know are doing it tough but appreciate every single thing that they're provided with. So great work from Arana Support Services to actually change the way they would normally do things and be COVID safe in this time. So it's through the great work of organisations like Arana Support Services, Compass Housing, that we're continuing to prevent homelessness and support people into stable homes. And one of the stories that's been shared with me recently is of Mandela. He's an Australian resident, originally though from South Africa, and was staying with his wife in Orange. However, sadly, the marriage broke down. Mandela left the house with only his suitcase. He became homeless. He started wandering the streets and looking for a place to stay. He slept in the park and basically just lived out of his suitcase. Thankfully, he was referred to Arana Support Service for support and found crisis accommodation through them. He was offered a bed in Sturt House, the men's refuge. He's an enrolled nurse, so Mandela needed his registration renewed, and Arana, thankfully, again, was able to help with that. Put together a resume so he could start applying for jobs. And he's now actually working with Live Better Community Services in Dubbo, and he's also been assisted into a private residence. So a fantastic result, and it's a sort of outcome we hope for and look for in every case. And it's outcomes like that that are only possible because of our really hard-working community services sector. Now, the Minister himself has spent time with me and met with many of those non-government organisations in my patch, including Arana Support Services. Others also include Marathon Health and Compass Housing and Mission Australia. They're just some of the amazing community service providers in the region who've ensured that they can continue to deliver their essential services during COVID-19 and keep their staff and their clients safe. So we know these organisations have been the backbone of support for the most vulnerable members of our community during this pandemic. So it includes things like homelessness that we've talked about, housing support of all kinds, delivery of service to support vulnerable children and families, and support for people with a disability. Really integral service providers. So well done, everyone in that field, and thank you very much for everything you do.